What about the amendment process, the ratification process for amendments? Was there any precedent set by ratifying the Constitution via a convention of the people later on in considering any of the 27 amendments that have been passed so far?
Many anti-federalists argue that there should be amendments, more specifically the Bill of Rights. And Massachusetts was the first to propose amendments. And after Massachusetts, all states proposed amendments with the exception of South Carolina.
However, with that, as far as the idea of using a specially elected convention to propose amendments go,
I'm talking about ratifying amendments, not proposing.
Sorry. Well, as far this method of ratification has only been done once with the 21st Amendment, and all the rest of the 26 amendments were ratified by 3/4 of state legislatures as required by Article 5 of the Constitution.
Very good.
How much time do we have? Thank you. Okay, well, we'll
what about George
give you a
Washington?
bye on the 10 seconds.
What about George Washington? What did he play? What role?
He was a really cool guy. He was the first president of the United States, but he didn't say much at the Philadelphia Convention for fear of political issues that would...
However, he was in charge of the convention.
They actually used him for political
What was that?
for political propaganda, because in Massachusetts there was they published a calendar with George Washington on chariot and the Constitution underneath, so it was basically a huge endorsement for the Constitution.
Thank you. John, would you begin?
Okay, I'm glad I asked that last question instead of letting that time go by.
Yeah, really, he's much more efficient than I am.
I'm surprised you knew the Brinkerhofer Almanac here, the picture of Washington. So that's a real bonus for you. Your opening statement was very good. I like bringing in John Jay and writing the 2nd through the 5th numbers of the Federalist Papers. You also mentioned number 1. That's an excellent way to start off, Hamilton, and him putting things in context. I really enjoyed the reference to the other state constitutions. We had individual state constitutions mentioned today, but not I think you said 47 of the 50 state constitutions had some kind of popular adoption method. You even mentioned Korea. I happened to arrive in Korea on the day they adopted their new constitution. And I remember it very well, reading it in the English translation of the newspaper. And I asked my translator with me, Miss Moon, what she thought of the Equal Rights Amendment in America, which was part of their second article. She laughed. There was no equal rights for women in Korea. But the Korean Constitution does start out, "We the people of Korea." So it is modeled on the United States Constitution to a certain extent. State conventions, we haven't heard the comment, the educational process that was there. That was excellent. That was used by anti-federalists, not educational, propaganda, trickery. And that's what the Rhode Islanders said. That's why they went to a referendum on the Constitution rather than a convention. Those Federalists are too tricky in the way they can manipulate us plow joggers, us farmers. And so that's especially what they wanted to do. The difference between representation. Edmund Burke said, a representative goes and is intelligent, listens to the argument, and then makes up his mind, not going there just to deliver a message. So that was a nice point to make out. I think also when you look at the political reasons for state conventions, numbers just come to the fore. You had 11 bicameral legislatures, 2 unicameral. That means 24 bodies that you have to go through. If you go to the conventions, that's only 13. You need 9. So you need 9 versus 18 political bodies to get through. So the numbers favor going through a convention. Also, all those people who are not in the legislature, George Washington, John Hancock, George Clinton, governors, that say wouldn't take part if the legislatures were considering, but they can be elected to the convention. So you get some big name individuals who might be very important. I like your reference to Roger Sherman and to Massachusetts and to General Thompson. Whoever cites General Thompson at this, nobody ever cites General Thompson. So again, you and I know General Thompson, but nobody else does. You get a spar for General Thompson, and he's very happy you cited him. Pseudonyms, you get another star on pseudonyms. You missed something though, and that's because you're not acquainted with it today. You see a lot of name calling and mudslinging in our propaganda today. Our education that we're getting from the media of all kinds. But what we don't have today that they had back then was dueling and caning. You might want your anonymity and not getting involved in personal things when it might cost you a duel and might cost you your life. You can tell I enjoyed your comments a great deal. So you did a terrific job.
Yeah, I enjoyed them very much as well. I thought you hit a lot of the questions out at the park. You very good answer to Madeline's question about the early states, and you even knew the votes in Delaware, New Jersey, and Georgia, Winston. Frankly, John probably knows whether you're right or not. I don't, but you sure sounded authoritative, and so
He was.
I'm crediting it.
He was. He gets a star.
Good. In our answer to John's question, you knew about that that all of the amendments had been ratified by legislatures except one, and I think you had. I think you got that. You knew which one. And I also thought that your answer on Massachusetts and the class, putting it in class terms, or whoever did that, was very good. The only sort of bone I would pick, and it's not really it's not a criticism, and for the caning and the dueling, I guess, is a good enough reason to want to be anonymous, but I think we should be more suspicious or more reserved about letting people voice opinions anonymously. And of course, it's now an issue with internet posts, and it's not clear to me how the doctrine of popular sovereignty that seeks to make sure that everyone's voice is heard can be accomplished if you don't know whose voices they are. And so there's no way to assure that in fact everyone's voice is being heard. But anyway, I find that an interesting issue, and I appreciated your comments.
Well, I too thought you had a wonderful opening presentation, and throughout the presentation, your opening statement and your follow-up question responses, you have a tremendous amount of energy and a tremendous amount of passion for the topic. I too thought you had excellent supportive documentation. When it came to the ratification conventions of small states, I think you did a great job, but the one point I was looking for in the congressional benefit was that we had equal representation in the Senate. That was a really major concern for the smaller states. I was impressed that someone noted that there were several members of the federal convention who participated in the ratification convention, and in Delaware, of course, there were 2 who did so. I just thought you did a very nice job. And something else, the balance you had between the citations for both Federalist and anti-Federalist sources, I thought really supported your arguments and your positions very well.